Hello, and welcome to SCRS Talks provided by the Society for Clinical Research Sites. I am so excited to be joined here today with Claire Sears of EMS Healthcare and Almina Garvey of Elucent. Both of these individuals have joined us to become leaders within our European Site Solutions Summit Committee. They are the brand new co-chairs of this particular summit. So I would love for each of them to introduce themselves and answer the question. You've both taken on this incredible role of committee chair for the European Site Solutions Summit. What excites you most about leading this event? And what do you hope to achieve this year, March 2nd through 3rd in Amsterdam, Netherlands? So we'll start things off. How about Claire? Why don't you kick us off?
Sure. Yes, very happy to be here. Claire Sears, and I am Head of Business Optimization at EMS Healthcare, based in the UK. I've been involved with SCRS and have had the privilege to be on the committee for a number of years for Europe, both in my roles in clinical trial technology, then at a CRO, and now representing a clinical research site. The opportunity to take a leadership role has been extremely exciting and a great privilege to have the opportunity to continue the great work of past chairs of Vivian van der Waal and Piotr Sawicki, highlighting what's great about Europe, what our challenges are, and what are the massive opportunities we have as a clinical research community to really move things forward. And I think that's what's really exciting about this year and the summit coming up in Amsterdam.
Hi, I'm Almina Garvey. I'm Senior Director of Global Feasibility, Site, and Patient Engagement at Elucent, a mid-sized CRO. I am super excited about being a part of this committee. I've been on the committee for a number of years, like Claire. Being co-chair really helps us focus on expanding the number of sites and the number of geographical regions that are attending the summit. The summit is so good for sites, so informative. I've been working with sites for the last 20 years, and I find that this conference is the best conference for sites to really talk to other sites, understand what's really going on in the industry. So really looking forward to seeing the sites, the CROs, and the sponsors in March in Amsterdam.
Awesome. Thank you. And we're so grateful to have both of you leading the charge inside of this particular summit. You've been doing an excellent job thus far, and we're excited to watch it all come together here in just a few months. As Almina had noted, this is really one of the more unique style conversations and summits that exist within this landscape that is really, truly, fully dedicated to clinical research sites and their success. What makes the site-centric focus so critical in this very particular moment in the clinical research landscape? How does bringing site sponsors and CROs together drive solutions that could actually work in the future? Almina, you briefly touched on it. Do you want to take it first?
Yeah, I would love to take it first. Thank you. The sites are at the heart of what we do in clinical research. I mean, it's site focus is where we start. So this conference dedicated to sites is really important because it puts the sites where they belong in the spotlight. And the CROs and the sponsors are there to support the sites and what they need to be successful and to support our patients, which is also extremely important. The EU SCRS conference really kind of helps because you're talking about sites across different geographical regions, different languages, different healthcare. So it really is helpful to talk to how to navigate and negotiate through the site landscape.
I think to sort of build on that from Almina about putting sites in the spotlight, I think what's really good about the summit and the focus on clinical research sites at the moment is that at a more macro level, research within Europe is under a lot of pressure from other markets, in the US and in China. I think we have a lot of responsibilities and opportunities to bring the European region to the fore, to be clear about what we can offer, to talk about regional collaboration across Europe, but as Almina highlights, those country-specific strengths and differences. We have a lot of diversity within the population within Europe that we can highlight, and to talk to sponsors and CROs about the great strides that are being made in regulatory simplification, in technology transformation. And I think, as Almina said, sites are in the central spotlight, which is fantastic. But it also gives a chance to lift your head up from the day-to-day of delivering clinical research studies to actually think about the market, think about collaboration, and think about how we collectively move things forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate that so very much because sometimes we get so deep into the weeds of our day to day and it just takes that 1 second to step back and realize what the grander picture is of what we're doing here. And that's really how we work with the entire committee as a whole, not just you two, but the entire committee to build out that really robust agenda. So looking at that agenda that you all work so incredibly hard to build out with topics that range from, ICH, GCP, E6R3, implementation to contract negotiations and study startup delays. What are the top that you would say 2 to 3 most pressing challenges that you hear from sites across Europe? And how will these sessions equip attendees to walk away with solutions they can take back to their organizations?
So there are several interesting topics. I think that a lot of our sites are really trying to figure out how to use AI. How does the AI affect them? What they can do to improve the resources, improve the standard of care that they're giving using AI. In addition to that, operationalizing E6R3. I mean, I think that's extremely important, and people are still trying to ensure that they're using the guidance that's in this guidance in their sites. I think contracts and budgets are an important topic and an important subject. Site viability is extremely important. The sites love listening to the landscape as well. And then third, I think it's the study startup. We're always talking about the study startup, the speed of study startup. We're talking about the hidden costs workshops that are done, which are very important. I think the biggest thing is the networking. In addition to the networking breaks, there's breakfast and lunch where you can constantly network. There's the site reception times that you can talk to and meet with not only other sites, which is extremely important, but also the sponsors and the CROs as well.
Yeah, I mean, that is absolutely the best part about the SCRS Europe Summit is that access, isn't it, Armenia? That access to sites, for sites to sponsors and CROs. As an attendee, you will see a lot of EU-focused site engagement teams from CROs and sponsors whose job it is to engage with sites and support them in getting clinical trials started. In terms of the agenda, like Armenia said, we're all facing budget challenges, and getting contracts through. So I think things like the Hidden Costs Workshop are so valuable. It's really grounded in practical tips for sites to really move things forward, move with some speed and with confidence as to what you can negotiate and what you can't. And then I think to echo what Armenia said, AI implementation. You asked Lauren about what were pressing concerns. It might not be a today pressing concern for sites, but it will be by the end of the year. So the earlier I think people can understand exactly what is possible with AI for clinical research, what are the guardrails, what are things to look out for, the better really. And I think the conference has sessions both on a higher view of AI implementation in clinical research, but then also the practical, what does it mean for your daily site operations? And I think that will be super valuable. Alongside cybersecurity was the other session that I picked out as a key one.
I would add patient recruitment and patient engagement because, of course, being in my wheelhouse, but also so vitally important to everything that we do in clinical research as well.
Yeah, absolutely. At the center of everything that we do. I feel this at almost all of our conversations and all of our conferences is that the patient is always the hyperfixation, if you will. And we have an entire plenary session, main stage session that is dedicated to that patient voice to really ensure that that is woven in to the entire agenda. I always call that the heartbeat of each of our summits. Because I think that's so important that we bring it in. And to Claire's point, technology is here to stay. Technology is here to continue to grow, and understanding how to implement and utilize these different tools that exist out there and also how to select what tools to utilize is going to be important for these clinical research sites, especially in the next few years as it continues to develop. So that's a big part of this 2026 agenda. For someone who's never attended before or is deciding whether this investment in time and resources is critical for their organization, what should they expect from these 2 days in Amsterdam? Obviously, you all have been longstanding both attendees and committee members of this particular summit. What's different from this conference from other conferences inside the space? Why is it worth their time for these site CROs and sponsors working in Europe? So why don't we start with Armenia from the CRO sponsor type perspective and then head to the site perspective from Claire.
Well, I think the very first thing is that the sites have unfeathered access to people like me at the sponsors in the CRO, that our job is dedicated to supporting sites. So these are the right conversations to have with the right people at the organizations that they are interested in working with. Do you know how sometimes you have a question and you're afraid to ask it out loud? There is someone in that room that will ask that question and they will ask it out loud. So you can learn a lot from just listening to other people, their questions, their concerns, that's their solutions. The best thing about the Site Solution Summit is the solutions that everyone walks away with the tips, things that they can go into their office the very next day and start to implement at their site. So the access to other sites, the access to the CROs and pharmaceutical companies, and the access to information, I think really sets this summit apart.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. That access is a key thing. I don't know of any other conferences where you get on an equal footing all the stakeholders together, the sites, the CROs, and the sponsors. As Armenia said, it is very solution focused. A real demonstration of the commitment from some of our sponsors to SCRS EU Site Solutions Summit is the fact that we have Site Partnership Symposium run by Takeda, which is a dedicated session. And having attended similar sessions at the Global Summit late last year, that was incredibly valuable. It felt like a true partnership discussion. What are the sponsors doing? What can sites bring to the table? And sharing of challenges and opportunities. So I think, that's a real value. Also, you pack a huge amount into the time. It's intense, it's fun. You will enjoy it. Like Armenia says, site sponsors and CROs will all learn something from that summit and feel part of the community as well, which I think is a unique part of the conference as well.
I would just like to say, and I think Claire will agree with me on this, if the new site is listening to this podcast and coming to the summit, please feel free to reach out and introduce yourself. We'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, definitely. Happy to share our experiences. And I think Armenia said at the start, we really want to expand access. We've had the benefit of attending this summit over many years, have been to numerous conferences, enjoyed them all in different locations. We're in a new location this time, which is exciting. But yeah, if there are new sites that are wondering what it's all about, we're happy to chat.
So just to kind of wrap up this discussion, looking further at that agenda, you talked about ICHR3 implementation. We talked about budgets. We talked about hidden costs. We talked about startup, all these other things. Give me 2 topics that you're super excited to go in and listen and be a part of that engaging session.
Well, I'm super excited about the topic that I will be facilitating, which is KPIs that drive site selection and success. I think this is an extremely important topic and it really looks at those key performance factors that we look at for selecting sites and the ones that, for sites that may not understand. So we're really looking forward to this peeling back the layer of this session and really engaging and discussing KPIs and site selection success.
And, another key area that is super important is site resilience. We've talked about it being a challenging environment for clinical research sites. So the session that I'm fortunate enough to be involved with is about how sites can look to the future, build their capabilities, forecast better, and be able to withstand some of the vagaries of being in the clinical research industry about when studies get cancelled, when timelines get pushed. And, we ran a similar session at the Global Summit last year, and it was really practical. Some really good tips from experienced sites about how they do this and a lot of learnings for other sites to take away. So I think that session should be really good fun.
2 incredible topics led by 2 incredible leaders in those spaces. And we're excited to continue to drive those conversations forward along with other conversations. Feel free to go and explore the agenda on the summit website to learn more about all the other incredible leaders on these different topics and also the topics themselves. Well, thank you both so very much again for your time and dedication to this particular summit. And if you're listening today, please consider joining us March 2nd and 3rd in Amsterdam, Netherlands for the European Site Solutions Summit. We are excited to bring sites, CROs, sponsors, service providers, all to the same exact table to discuss the pressing topics in the European landscape. Please join us at myscrs.org to learn more information.